Hello, I'm Will. Welcome to the Tesla Jigsaw. I've spent far too much time scouring the UK market for used electric cars, so you don't have to. Coming up are 18 splendid choices of used EVs to choose from between £10,000 and £20,000. They are available right now on autotrader.co.uk, and I've not included any cars with over 100,000 miles on the clock, and the real world range is just that, expected to be the minimum range you get even during the winter time. Here's a little tip though, be sure to understand the charging speed capabilities of your chosen EV. If you are going to be charging in a hurry at fast public chargers, you'll want the highest possible kilowatt charging capabilities. It's most certainly worth doing a little homework before purchasing your first EV, which I'm guessing is why you're here. The Renault Zoe. Now actually, for just less than £10,000 you can buy the bigger 52 kilowatt hour battery version that really does deliver a 200 mile range. What a bargain! And it is a perfectly good little runabout, but what still unfortunately remains though is that all Zoes produced after 2020 have a 0 safety rating by NCAP and is one of only 3 cars in history to receive such poor results. That's somewhere between disappointing and outrageous to me that Renault would willfully skimp on safety tech in order to save costs. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Am I being too harsh on the Zoe, or does safety matter? But if you'd rather less range and perhaps a little more quality, the Volkswagen e-Golf. The very first e-Golfs came with just a measly 24 kilowatt hour battery, which gives just 80 miles of real world range. I'd recommend avoiding that one and going for the newer 38.8 kilowatt hour battery version, which will give you more like 120 miles. Given that it's around about the same price of £11,000, it makes sense, eh? If you are a Volkswagen Golf fan, this will probably float your boat because it's practically the same as its more evil ICE brother. MGZS. Okay, now we're talking. With a 150 mile real world range, I think this is a perfect practical family car. I mean, it ain't going to blow the pants off you with sportiness, but it has light and accurate steering, enough space within its SUV styling, and I think it's a real bargain for £11,000. As with all EVs, if you can charge from home and get on an overnight tariff for just under a quarter of the price of daytime electricity, electric cars will pay for themselves in fuel and servicing savings over time. It's well worth calculating this, as I've figured out that over the 4 years of owning my Tesla Model 3, I've saved a whopping £10,000 compared to what my previous car would have cost me. Pretty good, eh? Up next, the Hyundai Ioniq. From around £12,500, the 38 kilowatt hour battery version of the Ioniq perhaps isn't the most stylish thing to look at, but it drives like any other fairly powerful, dare I say bland, family hatchback. Though it doesn't have the crazy acceleration of some electric cars, it's not sluggish, and it's quiet and a relaxed car to cruise in. Oh, the dear old Mini E. All Mini E's come with just a 32 kilowatt hour battery, giving a rather disappointing 110 miles of real world range. Of course, if BMW decided to add more range and build totally uncompromised competitive electric minis, who would continue buying the engine varieties? Wild conspiracy theory or on the money? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Otherwise, the Mini E is a perfectly good little runabout, drives much the same as the Minis we've grown up with, and could still be a good choice if you commute short distances and can easily charge overnight at home or at work, for example. For similar money though, you should really consider the BMW i3. This is the 42 kilowatt or the 120 amp hours as BMW strangely measures it in, which is the largest battery the i3 comes with or ever will, as the i3 is now discontinued. With a realistic 150 mile range, if you don't need a big boot, this is a cracking little car. Although weirdly, for a small car, it's not small on the inside at all. It's really spacious and has a very tall ride height. Admittedly, the i3 does not compare well to newer, greater ranged, even more spacious, better handling electric cars, but well worth considering this bigger battery version at around the £13,000 mark. The Citroën EC4 is the first EV on this list to include a 100 kilowatt charging speed. That allows 80% battery top-up in around 30 minutes from a rapid charger, so the ones you'll find publicly. Great if you are going to be relying on public chargers often. The C4 is roomy, has a high quality cabin and typically squishy Citroën seats. Again, it's not sporty in any way, but if you're all grown up and boring, who cares about sportiness? It's also got a 380 litre boot and a real world range of around 160 miles. DS Automobiles is a French luxury premium brand of Citroën, who is a subsidiary ultimately owned by Stellantis. Get it? If comfort and relaxation rather than speed and fun are your thing, the DS3 Crossback might well be right for you. Don't be fooled into thinking it's particularly sporty though, it's not. Max charging speed again of 100 kilowatts and a pretty good 160 miles of actual range might be enough to sway you to buy one, especially if you like lots and lots of fiddly buttons in weird and wonderful shapes. For £14,849 you can grab yourself some Italian style with a Fiat 500e. This is for the larger 42 kilowatt hour version, so be aware there is a 24 kilowatt hour version too. This one will do about 160 miles and has that 100 kilowatt charging speed, and is a seriously stylish city car that might just do the trick. Hyundai Kona. Look at this jump in mileage. Make sure you go for the 64 kilowatt hour battery for the best value and more range. As like a lot of these cars, there is a sneaky smaller battery pack floating around, but at £15,000 for an EV that'll happily do 230 miles on any occasion, this is surely one of the top contenders at this price point. Vauxhall Mokka E. Looks good, doesn't it? Loads of choice of colours, decent quality interior, not a massive boot at 310 litres, but a pretty decent electric SUV for just over £15,000. Range does let it down at a realistic 140 miles though, so there may be better contenders if I'm honest. Like this next one. For just under £16,000, here's a refreshed Nissan Leaf, now with a 200 mile real world range thanks to a 62 kilowatt hour battery. Perhaps a little cheap on the inside and with rather sluggish infotainment screen. Other than that, it's not half bad. If the squinty squashed face looks don't bother you, that is. Honda E. I love the look at this, but the range is dreadful, almost a waste of good batteries. What has Honda been doing all these years since Asimo? You'd have thought Honda might have been at the forefront of the EV revolution, but clearly not. It's almost as if they wanted to make a compromised EV so that they can continue selling hybrids and ICE cars. Which of course is where all traditional car companies' profits come from. 100 miles of real world range, is that really the best you could do, Honda? Other than that, I think it looks great. Plus it has more screens inside than SpaceX's Mission Control. Kia e-Niro, another great family-sized EV with an amazing 240 mile range, but a maximum charging speed of 77 kilowatts. So it'll fully charge in under an hour at a fast charger. But still, compare that to these other cars at 100 kilowatts charging speed and it seems a bit odd. Still, for £16,500 in the used car world, it ticks a lot of other boxes. I very nearly bought one of these 4 years ago before I became a Tesla addict and purchased my Model 3. Do I regret spending a little more and going for a Tesla? Good grief no. The value a Tesla offers far exceeds any other electric vehicle, period. I mean, I love my Tesla so much I made a YouTube channel about it. I've never wanted to do that after buying anything in my life. Back to the e-Niro, 39 and 64 kilowatt hour battery versions do exist, so obviously go for the larger one, as there's not much difference in price and you'll get loads more miles. Kia Soul. I like the look of this too. Good visibility, fantastic range, but the boot space isn't quite as good as the Kia e-Niro we've just looked at, and the interior is a little drab, and it's the same slightly disappointing 77 kilowatt charging speed, but if you like the unique looks on the outside, £16,500 is the starting price for a used Kia Soul. Volkswagen ID3. Right, aside from being plagued with software issues and an infotainment system you want to beat with a stick, the ID3 is comfortable, has a decent range, it looks nice, and has a respectable 385 litre boot. Charging speed is 124 kilowatts too, so that's a bonus. But if a used ID3 is within your budget, so is this. The Tesla Model 3 Standard Range Plus. Now depreciation for Teslas has come back down to earth, you can pick up a Tesla Model 3 for just over 18 grand. But for that you'll get crazy performance, safety features that are beyond anything else, standard autopilot, a panoramic glass roof, the best infotainment and software which regularly gets over-the-air updates with improvements and new features, practically future-proofing the internal look of your car. A maximum charge speed of 170 kilowatts for the Standard Range Plus, and of course full use of the Tesla supercharger network. Tesla being the only car company to bother providing such a thing to its customers, by the way. Right, let me try and think of some negatives. Okay, these nice wheels do reduce range a little compared to the standard ones, so bear that in mind. But they look nice, don't they? Also, these early models don't benefit from the updates received on the 2021 model year, which included a heat pump to help with better winter range. It got rid of the slightly annoying piano black centre console that looks dirty unless it's constantly cleaned, and it's got some new door window trim and replaced the exterior chrome with matte black instead. Still, these early models are fantastic, such good fun to drive, a huge boot and frunk, it's practical, full of tech and fun, and over the 4 years of ownership, my car still feels brand new every time I drive it. In my humble opinion, it's the only car on this list with zero compromises. And coming in at just under £20,000, you can get yourself an original Tesla Model S, which again comes with many different battery sizes from 60 to 100 kilowatt hours. As usual, more batteries, more range. But what a lot of car for the money. Still regularly receiving over-the-air updates so it can feel as good as new inside. Although I think it's fair to say that the original version does look a little dated when compared to newer Teslas, obviously. But it's got air suspension, automatic pop-out handles, tons of safety and tech, a true historical great EV. This will go down in history. Some Model S's for sale claim to have free supercharging for life, but I'd most certainly contact Tesla before purchasing a used Model S to make sure unlimited free supercharging is transferable with the vehicle. But as of this price point of just under 20 grand, we're in new EV price territory, where you can buy a Vauxhall Corsa E instead of a second-hand Model S. Just putting it out there, what would you rather, a used Tesla Model S or a brand new Corsa? Well, I hope this has been useful to somebody. I've learnt a lot just researching all these vehicles. I want to thank my amazing patrons for supporting my little channel. That's these folks right here, and you can join them too for extra perks and get your name immortalised on YouTube until the end of time. Find my Patreon link in the description below. I quite literally cannot continue to do this without you, so thank you. And if you're a regular viewer, way more Tesla-centric content coming back at you soon. I'm just experimenting with these last two videos. I'm Will, this is the Tesla Jigsaw. Thank you so much for watching. Bye for now.